So, yeah, welcome to season two of Fresh Off the Boat. I'm with Tanisha Bansal, a student I've known for over a year now while she was applying for grad school. So, welcome, Tanisha. I know you've had a fairly interesting undergrad life, and today we'll focus more about your journey and learn how you moved from India, Calcutta specifically, to Pennsylvania, where you studied at Haverford College. Your journey, not just academics, but how was it like fitting in, settling down, using all the resources and growing? So why don't you introduce yourself and also tell us where you're going next?
Thank you, Arjun. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here. And yeah, I graduated from Haverford in May of 21, and I majored in psychology and had an economics minor. And I'm headed to Penn next. So I'll be pursuing a master's in counseling and mental health services um, starting this fall at UPenn.
Yeah, so I think you could replace my job in a way. I mean, I could be your client.
We can swap roles soon.
Yeah, who doesn't need mental health advice these days? Yeah, so tell me, this whole idea of going for undergrad to a small liberal arts college away from home for the first time, pretty much. How did that sink in when you landed there, and what were your expectations, and how was it like settling in?
Um, it was definitely a challenge settling in, coming from like an all girls school in Modern High, living sort of like in a bubble for the first 18 years of my life. Going to a place like Haverford was like pretty shocking. Like all of a sudden, like there were so many new things around me. But I think Haverford very actively tries to make it a comfortable transition for its students, especially international students, because they expect it to be a challenge in the first place. So it was great. Like Halford provided me with so much support coming in, and I think a small school made all the difference for me because it was very easy to make friends. People sort of knew who you were always around you to support you. Um, I sort of became really good friends with my RA and everyone on my hall and my dean, my professors, like over the years they became like friends and family to me.
So very often,
So
students who go to small schools, maybe suburban, in your case, it was suburban, not too far from Philly.
yeah.
In that sense, you could get the buzz of the city. Uh, Now, what are the kind of students who do not fit in a small school or do not make enough effort and hence do not like the experience of a small school?
So small school is very community oriented. Um, we have a lot of events, a lot of like interaction, and like Halford is a very big part of your academic journey, like integrating into what the campus life has to offer and what sort of the student life has to offer. And if you're someone who's not interested in all of that, if you want to sort of just be there for the academics and live your own life outside of like the school setting, it's not a fitting place for you. It is you're fully immersed in the education experience and everything that comes with that. So a small school is very consuming in a lot of different ways.
All right, so students who want to be aloof just do their thing and sort of vanish in the woodwork might not be happy. Okay, great. Now, tell me something. As you started like settling in, enjoying the community life, what was the academic scene like? Haverford is kind of a tough school. So, and did you find it challenging coming from an Indian national curriculum school in Kolkata?
So Halford was definitely rigorous and it was challenging. But again, I had all the support I thought I needed. I had like an academic advisor from day one. For students who are not used to sort of writing in the American style, they had like an optional like writing course to take before the first year writing program. So I did like a year-long writing program instead of like a semester long to familiarize myself with how to write, how to cite, all those different things that I needed going into like more rigorous classes. Um, I also had like a lot of I had like an upperclassman advisor also, so like a student advisor and a faculty advisor to like help me navigate my courses and what to like schedule classes for the next couple of years. And then my dean was always there for me. So yes, it was rigorous, but I was able to navigate it. And even though I came from an ISC background, I think the sort of skill set I built here really helped me in Haverford as well. For example, like ISC math was pretty rigorous. Like it covered a lot of like topics that when I went into college, I was able to apply in calculus and stuff as well. Even though it's taught differently, the basic concepts were similar. So in some areas I was lacking, but in some areas I knew more than my peers at Haverford.
Sure. So if you could, maybe tell us a little bit about, say, experiences from the classroom, which classes were interesting in your upperclassmen years, what kind of course load did you pursue, be it research, senior year work?
Mhm.
It'd be great to know.
Yeah, sure. So my journey was actually super interesting. I came in as an economics major and I was very focused on that. And through my summer experiences, I sort of realized that this is not what I want to do. Um, and the more I took economics classes, the more I sort of like didn't want to study it further. Like, you know how they say econometrics like weeds you out? That happened for me. And then I saw sort of like switched to psych right before my senior year, and that's when it all like started becoming super interesting for me. One of the most interesting classes I think I've taken is cultural psychology. That sort of went into how culture impacts a lot of the ways in which we navigate the world, and how coming from certain backgrounds and certain like social settings influences your psychology and your mental health and all of that. Um, so that was one of my most interesting psychology classes. And being a psych major my senior year, I worked in a social psych lab where we sort of collected data on how students at Haverford, white students at Haverford, how they perceive their sort of like superiority and like white supremacy. And our data was then used to sort of implement um, more inclusive protocols into like the orientation program for like students of color. So it was very interesting. Like the work that I was doing was directly being implemented, like the data. So I think that was very cool. I also worked on a very interesting thesis for my senior thesis, which was on social hierarchies in India and how caste and colorism have sort of like co-evolved over the years. So the psych perspective to this was how social dominance orientation, a psych concept, has sort of perpetuated in Indian society, where people started thinking that if you're lighter skinned, you're superior, and how that sort of has like evolved over the years. And I sort of like traced how that started back with like say the Aryan invasion, and in today's world how with Bollywood or like this fairness skin the skin fairness industry, like it's sort of like perpetuated that being lighter skinned is like superior. So I got to do a lot of like cool research that was related to my culture, my interests, and my passions with a lot of supervision at Haverford in the psych department.
So that's really interesting, social psychology. And then gradually the move to mental health and counseling. How did that happen? Did it happen while you were at Haverford? Did you meet people there?
Yeah, so it happened. So it happened when I was in Mexico, actually. So through Haverford, I got to go to the World Summit of Nobel laureates in Mexico. It was a fully funded trip, and we got selected to conduct a workshop there. And the workshop was basically aimed to sort of equip people with the tools to humanize like a perceived other. So, for example, if I'm meeting a stranger from a different race, a different country, sort of like tools to like humanize them, make conversation to realize that they're not very different from us in a lot of ways. And through those interactions at Mexico, I sort of realized that um, it is so important for social justice action to happen, and how that can sort of uplift global mental health, and how through social justice, like mental health um, can sort of come into the forefront of global health in general. And I got to meet a lot of cool people. Like I met Nobel laureates like Shireen Ebadi and like Kailash Satyarthi through all these things. And I realized that, okay, like I want to go into mental health, and all my sort of interdisciplinary like work led me to go into like counseling and making that my channel to do the sort of work I want to get to.
Amazing. And then you've spent 1 full year sort of interning, doing interesting things, and applying to grad school. So looking forward to following your journey at UPenn and beyond. So
Yeah,
stay in touch, and
of course.
be doing follow-up calls sometime soon.
For sure. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.